Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about LiveView, something that got me really excited as a backend developer. This talk is very opinionated because, well, I got excited because of my opinions. And if some of you share my opinions, I hope I'll get you excited too. So who am I? I've been doing backend development for around 10 years, the first 5 of which I was doing PHP. And after that, I found out about functional programming, and I've been doing it at Quanterall for 5 years, mostly with Elixir. What is LiveView? According to the official documentation, LiveView provides rich real-time user experiences with server-rendered HTML. That's a mouthful. In my opinion, this basically boils down to it's a backend single-page application. Why LiveView is a reasonable idea? We have sockets, WebSockets specifically, the Beam, you already heard about it, and Elixir. WebSockets allow us to have a stateful connection, allow us for quicker communication between the backend and the frontend. And yeah, they're amazing, and I feel like they've been severely underused in the web space. The Beam, you already heard all the great things about it, but it has cheap threads. This means that we can have hundreds of thousands, even millions of simultaneous connections from users, sometimes even on a single machine. And that's important when you want to have stateful, persistent connections. Stability. If the user is connected to your server, to your backend server constantly, you want there to be a stability. And then non-blocking threads. The importance of this, I think, cannot be overstated. You need, if some process does heavy computation or enters a bottomless recursion or something like that, you don't want to boggle all the other users. So having the preemptive scheduler and non-blocking threads, I think it's essential for this. Elixir, what Elixir provides to LiveView and why it's an important part of the equation. First of all, you have Ruby guys. Elixir was created by a Ruby guy. LiveView and the framework that it's on top of, Phoenix, was created by a Ruby guy. Those people strive for great development experience and happy backend developers. And I feel happy while using LiveView. So yeah, I think it's a really important point. Metaprogramming. Metaprogramming allowed for some of this nice development experience that was brought from the Ruby guys. And as a whole, if you use the language that has metaprogramming, I don't think you want to go back. It's amazing. And Phoenix. Phoenix is important because, as I said, the same guy that created Phoenix created LiveView. And Phoenix is the most popular framework on Elixir, on the Elixir world. And having this being a fact means that LiveView quickly gained traction. It gained users. It improved faster. We have now several books on LiveView and many learning materials, guides, tutorials. And this is really important for technology, in my opinion, to become better. So yeah, but this concept of a backend single-page application, we have it in many other languages. The most popular one is probably Blazor in C#, but there is also VAD in Java, LiveWire in PHP, and so on and so forth. So why do I think LiveView is better than them? Well, mostly because of the Beam. The things that the Beam provides, none other runtime provides them in this package. And all of those are such a great fit for this technology that, yeah, it's a match made in heaven. But let's take a step back. Why would a backend single-page application be needed at all? We have all those front-end frameworks, so why a backend one for the specific need? First of all, we have the full-stack developers. Many of us have probably been a full-stack developer at some point, either because, well, you're the only guy on the project, so you do all ends of the application, or because you have a team of several full stack developers for one reason or another. So what's the problem with this? Usually a full stack developer is good at just one part of the equation. Either he is a great backend developer that just does front end, or he's a front-end developer that just does back-end. At least that has been mostly my experience. And making this guy, well, do the other end of the equation in not a good way, I think it's missing out on his strong points. So having all of the code at one end, I think, yeah, it brings out the good things in that developer. And we're already seeing some move towards this. We have frameworks like Next.js, and now we have all those Blazor, LiveView, and so on. Another problem that I see is the current state of the front-end single-page application frameworks. This graph shows the retention rate of front-end frameworks. You probably can't see the numbers, but Angular, for example, it's the red line here. In 2016, it had 65% retention rate, and in 2022, it is 40-something% retention rate. But you can probably see that there is a recurring theme in this graph. Usually, all of those frameworks, their retention rate falls because there's a new kid on the block that all of the people are excited about, and it's getting a good retention rate, but then it just falls. I don't think that the churn itself is the big problem with this, like the many popping frameworks, although it is a problem, but it's not my biggest concern with this. My biggest problem with this is they all have different architectures. They all have different styles of doing a single page application architecture. Like take even React, for example. React, it's a library. They state that it's a library, and year after year, it's being combined with different other libraries to create some architecture, and the recommended libraries have been changing year after year. I feel like the front-end world hasn't converged around one type of architecture about doing single-page applications. And this is in contrast with the backend world. If you take PHP, you have Laravel. If you take Python, you have Django. If you take Ruby, you have Ruby on Rails. All of those are some form of MVC. And for me, it has been easier to jump from one backend language to another than it has been jumping from one front-end framework to another. Frankly, it has been harder than jumping from one React code base to another. It's just that they're so different. And the part of the reason why they are so different and why they haven't reached good architecture that they're using, I think it's just the complexity of the problem. The point is, we have some fundamental questions that haven't been answered in a good way, I think. For example, where does the application start? Like, who loads the initial page? Is it down on the back end? But then when the front-end framework loads, you have to somehow connect the two states. Is it on the front end? But then you have problems with search engines. You have problems with, it could be slow. Types. How do you connect the types on the back end and the front end? And if you don't have types, well, you have bigger problems, I feel like. Permissions, you need permissions on the front end to know what to show to the client and what to hide. And you also need those permissions on the back end to know what to allow the user to use. And you have to have those on both ends of the equations. And it's kind of hard synchronizing this. People have created monorepos and so on, but monorepos have another set of problems. So yeah, I feel like those are fundamental questions that are just, we haven't reached a reasonable solution for now. So yeah, that's why I think having a backend single page application is a good solution to most of these problems, really. So let's look at some LiveView now. How does the LiveView lifecycle looks like? Initially, you do a regular HTTP request that returns a HTML response, which basically means that you also have a good search engine optimization. Then a socket connection is established. The view is upgraded to a stateful view. And then every time socket assigns, which basically means the state of the connection, the variables and the data, if something there is changed, the whole thing is re-rendered, the relevant parts are re-rendered and are pushed to the client. This is an example application of LiveView. You've seen some Elixir code today. This function is, well, a templating language. The render function returns a template. And yeah, you've seen templating languages. The nice thing about this one, though, is it's compile time checked. If you miss closing HTML tag, you get a compile time error, which are the best type of errors. Then you have the mount function, which initiates the state. In this case, we have a counter that is initiated to 0. And then you have some handle events, which, yeah, handle events, increase the counter, decrease the counter. This is what the backend message looks like when a counter is increased. Being that the only variable in this template is here, this is the only thing that you are receiving when it's changed. You don't get like the whole template. So it's cheap in this regard. But let's do something more interesting. We make it so that the button is hidden if the counter reaches 5, the increment button. Otherwise, the code is the same. So these are the messages that are being received, that are being sent from the backend. In the first few cases, when we increase the value, we're just receiving the increased value. In this case, when we reach 5 and the button should be hidden, we get 5 and then we get an empty string because the part where the button existed previously now needs to be an empty string. And when we decrement the counter, decrease the counter, we are receiving the decreased value and then we are receiving the string for the button. And all of this, we don't need to keep track of it. LiveView does it for us. So yeah, it's just, I mean, amazing. I wanted to share my enumeration with LiveView. I hope some of you guys also like what you see. I think this concept of a backend single page application and the beam, in some ways it feels like they were specifically made for each other. And yeah, it's just amazing. Thank you.